Good evening, good morning. We are Radio Obscura live from beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia.
Hello everyone, good morning.
We're going to start with a few songs and we'll see you soon.
Picture cut to my wall. Stay with me. Let love in the sky. Let love in the sky. Oh.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're playing.
Oh, thank you, Renee.
Thank you, Renee.
That's
Thank you,
awesome.
Chris.
Right on.
Cathy. Okay, this next song is called Kiss Me When It's Dangerous.
Kiss You When It's Dangerous. That's right. And it's from a Canadian band, so we're going to do some local music as well.
All right.
When I look at you know it's true. All the things that make that I want know. To get you on the point, don't come through. I want to see if we wanted to. It's much too easy when someone I know. In the rain or in the sky. Just wanna do it, it's got to be so right. I'll kiss you when it's dangerous. I'll kiss you and then only then. I'll kiss you when it's dangerous. I'll kiss you once, but never again. I'll kiss you when it's dangerous. I'll kiss you and then only then. I'll kiss you when it's dangerous. I'll kiss you when it's dangerous. I'll kiss you and then only then. I'll kiss you when it's dangerous.
Thank you very much.
It's getting warm in here.
It is getting warm already, yes.
Cheers, everyone.
Yeah, we're a little tricky.
Whatever. This is YouTube time.
YouTube time.
Okay.
Take your time.
Some of you may recognize this next song, some of you won't. It's by a German band.
By a German band, that's right.
Funnily enough, speaking about Japan.
Isn't it? One, two, three.
some snowflakes all around my head and it's blowing. I had no illusions that I'd ever find a glimpse of some experience in your eyes. I didn't want you to be, now it's history I see. It's like on the road again. Things will happen while they can. We're waiting for my man tonight. It's easy when you're thinking Japan. Oh, you're thinking Japan tonight. Thinking Japan today. Thinking Japan through the eastern sea so blue. Thinking Japan. Alright, and I stay by your side. Things are easy when you're thinking Japan. Oh, you're thinking Japan. Tossing silhouettes of strange illuminated mannequins. Should I stay here at two? Should I go and change my point of view for all another piece? You didn't want to do to me, now it's history I see. Things will happen while they can. We're waiting for my man tonight. It's easy when you're thinking Japan. Oh, you're thinking Japan tonight. Thinking Japan tonight. Thinking Japan through the eastern sea so blue. Thinking Japan. Alright, hey, and I stay by your side. Things are easy when you're thinking Japan. Oh, you're thinking Japan. Oh, you're thinking Japan tonight. Thinking Japan today. Thinking Japan through the eastern sea so blue. Thinking Japan, alright, and I stay by your side. Things are easy when you're thinking Japan. Oh, you're thinking Japan.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We're going to take a little break now. Hey, Cathy.
See you on the couch. Hey, Cathy.
Hello, boys. So welcome everyone, welcome back to Reignite. As always, here to reignite your passion for music, and I think those boys just did that. They've certainly done it for me. You may or may not know them. They're called Radio Obscura and they're from Canada, and having live music here in the UK on a Saturday night is a fabulous treat for us. So we've heard them play, and I hope you enjoyed them as much as I did, because I thought that was amazing, one of my favorite songs there. And I said they're from Canada, but we'll dig into that a bit more. So 80s music, lovely start. Hoping the boys are in place and ready to chat, and then we can find out who Radio Obscura are. Are you there, boys?
We are indeed.
Hey, how are you?
We're on the other camera still.
We will. Yeah, there we go.
Hey.
Bring us
There
back.
we are.
Okay, move
Okay,
on.
you see me? There
Bring
we
it-
go.
Put it. We're just going to move you back a little bit. There you go.
And
There we go.
there we go.
Do I need to go further back?
I don't know. Let's have a look.
You're
Yeah.
good. We'll put you on full screen shortly. I'll kick off with some questions. and
Yeah.
throw you off full
Yeah.
screen.
Oh, perfect. There you go, Dina.
Boys,
You can put
may I
us on-
start
no,
by
you can
saying
put us on.
thank you.
There you go, leave it there.
Thank you.
Thank
That's
you.
good.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you,
us.
thank you, thank you. Saturday night in the UK live music gig. Thank you so much. I've missed live music so badly.
We all do. We all do.
Yeah, no
Yeah, it's
kidding.
been a long time.
Saturday morning on
It
the West
really
Coast, so thank you, neighbors. We appreciate the tolerance.
Well, I have to say, for this time of the morning, you did a fantastic job. The vocals were warmed up nicely.
Yeah, well, that's Mr. Sebastian over there, actually.
Yeah, it's
Yes,
around, it's around
indeed.
10 in the morning in here, so it's still pretty early for us.
Ooh, wow. So for anyone who doesn't know, these are Radio Obscura. They are from Canada, and as you've heard, they are absolutely fabulous. And would you like to introduce yourselves, boys?
Sure. My name is Sebastian. I'm originally from Chile. I've been in Canada for around 15 years or so, and I am a Canadian citizen as well.
He's the only Canadian citizen.
I'm the
We're
only
just going to
Canadian
mute
citizen
something
there.
here. Here we go. I got this.
We're just having
technical difficulties.
There we go.
It happens. It happens. Don't worry.
Yeah, so Seb is actually the ironically, Dean and I have been in the country combined,
175.
175 years.
That's about right.
And Seb is the only Canadian in the band. So we
right.
appreciate it, and he's our inspiration.
Excellent. Well, while you were playing, we've had some lovely comments. We've got a lot of people on live. We've had some lovely comments. Does anyone know who Sebastian Santos is?
Him.
I am.
That's your surname. So
Yes,
Chloe and
yes,
Daniel.
yes,
Who are
Sebastian.
Chloe and Daniel?
Yeah, Daniel, right here.
Okay, so I came to Canada 125 years ago, and I was born in the UK. I'm from Ilford. Hi, Ilford. Hi, family, who may be watching as well. We appreciate it. And I came out here, got married, had 2 beautiful children, and now live in Maple Ridge, British Columbia, and have been here since, I guess, the beginning of 1991. So more than half my life I've actually spent in Canada.
Mm-hmm. You've got a bit of an accent, but not completely.
It's a
But
complete
Dean,
mess.
how's Dean's Canadian accent?
My Canadian accent. I can do a brilliant southern one. Hey y'all.
Hey, y'all. Yeah, southern what?
But I am from Hull originally. Came to Canada with my mum and dad in the early 80s. Lived in Toronto for 10 years or so, then moved to Vancouver because it's beautiful. And I've been here ever since. Wife, kids, all the regular stuff.
Cool.
You could say it's been a stunning crawl to the top.
Well, hopefully we got you out here now on YouTube. Hopefully we're going to get some gigs. That would be nice. That's what we want to see.
Wouldn't it?
More gigs. But before we jump into that, I had a question talking about where you've come from, how long you've been there. We have Heather Fort in the chat, and she was asking, how long have you been together as a band?
Well, there's a history.
Do tell.
As a band, I guess it's been about 3 years now, right?
It's 4 years.
4 years?
Yeah.
I moved into this house, I guess, about 4.5 years ago. But prior to that, Dean and I were actually in a band together back in 2000, 2001. And we were quite successful with an awful lot of gigs, and we kind of kept in touch over the years. But I moved into this house about 4 years ago. Seb and I had been jamming for quite a while in my previous life and previous house as well. And we always wanted to get something together. And Dean and I as well had kept in touch, and we have very, very similar tastes in what we wanted to do and what we wanted to play. We're from the 80s. And this was the perfect opportunity to kind of set up. I had the space available here for us to do it, to create the Obscura Lounge. And for me, it's the highlight of my week when the guys can come around and get together. It's just something we love to do.
You mentioned there the Obscura Lounge, because we have a friend of ours in the chat, Andy Goodspeed, who has a channel, Good Times Productions. They do some fabulous travel blogs, and he was asking, actually, is this your sound studio at home? So you've just answered that, haven't you? The Obscura Lounge.
The Obscura Lounge, formerly known as Dan's Garage.
Excellent. And I've just cleared up something actually, because when I was saying who is Sebastian and who are Chloe and Daniel, I've just found out what went on there. Rachel was using your account, Seb, and put a message in the chat.
Who is Seb Santo?
Who is this Rachel you're speaking about?
Hi, Rachel. Hi, Rachel. Hi, Chloe. Hi, Dan.
They loved it, apparently, as we all did. So going back to you guys, musical influences, because it's fabulous to see a band now recreating 80s songs. I was actually at a Kate Bush tribute last night, which is amazing.
I actually saw that.
They were incredible. It was spine tingling. So I love hearing music from the 80s, the 70s, any of those eras. But what I want to know from all of you individually is, who were your musical influences? Who got you started in music, and who are your favorite 80s bands?
Well, I mean, music means more to you when you're a teenager, I think, when you're young and coming up. I mean, you know, the emotions are stronger and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's what you gravitate to, is when music meant more to you. So, of course, I was a teenager in the 80s, and coming from England to Canada, I was desperate to hang on to my British roots, as it were. When I came to Canada, everything was Led Zeppelin and Rush. Yeah. And I'm thinking, well, that's old. That's, you know, that's 70s. The Stones. And so I ran away from that kind of stuff. And I loved the new stuff coming, the new romantics and all that kind of stuff. So it was a fantastic era for music, in my opinion, anyway. But, you know, bands like ABC and Blancmange, just different sounds. And again, with the synthesizer, you know, we'd never really heard them sounds before. And it was just new to me. And again, you could dance to all of it. You know, Depeche Mode and you know, all that great stuff. And that's what appealed to me. And it differentiated myself from my peers at the time in Canada, because they were also, like I said, headbangers with long hair and ripped t-shirts. And I tried to wear the skinny leather tie and the tight pants kind of thing. So, and I mean, nostalgia itself, when we look back at things.
Nostalgia ain't what it used to be.
Well, it's not. But the actual etymology of nostalgia is pain. It's the same root as, you know, analgesic. It's pain for home. You're longing for that, you know, where you think home was. And as I said earlier, that emotion of when you're younger, that's where you tend to think back to, if that answered your question. So again, for me, Kate Bush, got to throw the Police in there. I mean, maybe a bit earlier than the 80s, but, you know, all those, you know, new romantic bands, Spandau Ballet and of course, Duran Duran, because they were the big ones, right?
Oh, yeah.
Seb?
Yeah, I mean, I was born in '83, so I kind of caught the tail end of the '80s, and I grew up more with like harder rock, with the grunge era of music, and I enjoyed it tremendously. But at the same time, I also grew up listening to Queen and Led Zeppelin, and there was a more melodic element to the music that my parents and my older siblings would listen to. And like you say, like there's a big nostalgia value, and this music just kind of takes you back to that time, and it just feels great to be able to play this music for people who kind of feel the same way.
Basically, good music is good music.
Yeah,
you know, that's a philosophy.
Good
music is good,
and
music.
It's a matter of preference. You know, I like the '80s, I like the '90s, and I like '70s. There's good music in each decade, and you just gotta pick and choose what best suits you.
Yeah. Me, my main influences, funnily enough, were more prog. I'm a huge Yes fan. I was into going to see bands like Yes, Genesis. My first gig actually was Motorhead, live at the Lyceum in London. I was deaf for 3 days after that.
Yeah, that would have been awesome.
Pro tip, kids, don't put your head inside a bass bin at a live gig. But really, you know, like I mean, I was in my late teens and 20s in the 80s, and it just takes you back to where you were then, when you had the energy, when it goes to formulate those wrinkles in your brain, right? That all memory it resides within. But I also think that it is quality. There's music from all eras that each has its own merit, but there's a certain quality seems to run through everything I like, whether it's prog, whether it's 80s, whether it's new wave, whether it's punk, whether it's anything, but there's a certain quality of songwriting and musicianship there that kind of makes me gravitate towards it, for sure. Does that answer your question?
Absolutely it does, yes. And I heard Duran Duran thrown in there, which made me smile because they've always been my favourite. So And I've just been asked, actually, I don't know if you saw it come up on the screen, our friend Andy's just asking, did you like any of the hair bands? Because he's a particular fan of Def Leppard, as am I.
Yeah, I like Def Leppard. They were a bit different than your typical hair bands. I mean, the production, was it Mutt Lange who did all the production?
Mutt Lange, yeah.
I mean, that production, the backing vocals of Def Leppard, that was unbelievable.
Yeah,
that
the
was
musicianship
yeah.
of bands like Def Leppard, it's
what was that one album they
astonishing.
had with all the hits? What was that?
Hysteria.
Hysteria, amazing album.
Every song on that album is brilliant. I still listen to that every now and again today.
Yeah,
and I like the one arm drummer.
Well, of course you would.
Yeah,
of course. You got to have respect for him. So, talking about songs, talking about bands. When I looked through your biography, you said you tend to steer clear of standards when you're doing gigs, and you like to come up with something a little bit different. So, what I'd like to know, when you do a show, what would be songs typically on your set list?
Well, a weird one. I mean, again, in Canada, they might not have heard of the bands that we're kind of doing might not be as big as they would be in England. Like a band like Blancmange, we do Living on the Ceiling, which everybody loves. And it's like, oh, I remember that song.
Yeah.
And it's not your typical ones, but it's something that you'd think, you may have heard it on the radio 4 or 5 times. It might have got to number 20 or something like that, and never number 1. And that seems to stick in people's minds more than if you just played Hungry Like the Wolf or your standard number 1 songs kind of thing.
But we do play Hungry.
We do play Hungry Like the Wolf. But those are the ones,
crowd please.
Yeah, those are the songs that you hear on the radio every now and again, very rarely, and you go, "Oh shit, yeah, I remember that. That was brilliant."
Yeah.
Who sang that? And just like Alphaville, not very many people know that, but they know the band, but they definitely know the song.
Yeah. Songs that make people say, "Oh my God, I can't believe they're playing that song." No one plays that song. You go to gigs, you go to pubs, you go back in the days where we could. Remember, kids? Every band plays the same songs. They all have basically a similar set list on rotation. We didn't want to do that. We wanted to do songs that we enjoy playing as well, because we figure if we enjoy it and you get a like-minded audience, well, the likelihood is they're going to enjoy it too. Plus, it's a little bit different. Who's going to book you when you're exactly the same as the band that was there the week before or the week after? We wanted to be a little bit different. I mean, the use of Dean's keyboards and patches and the technology we can bring to it is different from your standard 4 or 5 piece you can get up there and bang out, whatever, Stairway to Heaven or Smoke on the Water or whatever it is. No disrespect to some of the fantastic cover bands that we know and some of the fantastic bands that are out there doing a great job. It's just that we wanted to kind of take a slightly different track. And it just seems to happen that we wanted to do this, and all of a sudden the 80s is huge again. It's whether we followed that or whether it was just a matter of timing or whatever. But it seems to be that something has happened, that people have kind of looking at the 80s, whether it's our kids kind of re-looking at it and thinking, some of this stuff's pretty good.
It's almost like the 80s have been reignited.
Oh.
Hey. It's very true, because I've just recently gone back to working at a school with teenagers, and I've said to them, I've got this show, but people that I've had on, you might not know Toya, Marco Peroni, etc., and they know them. They know, and the kids are really, really getting into the 80s music. I think you're getting it absolutely spot on. I mean, a lot of the old 80s bands, I don't know if it's the same over there, but over here, they are all next year lining up tours, because obviously they've been off the road for a long time. And all the big bands, people like ABC, Soft Cell have got back together. Everyone's doing something. It is reignited for sure. And I think in part that's down to you. And I think we need to see more of you.
Oh, hey.
Someone's actually asked me, whether or not you plan on playing any local gigs. What's the situation out there in terms of gigs?
Well, it's tricky. We hope to put it this way. As soon as we're allowed, then we will. Right now, I don't think you can have any dancing. Or is it still loud music you can't have? I'm not sure. But right now, it's not.
There's some kind of restriction that we are not able to kind of gather people in the way that we would like to have them gathered, and that's the biggest thing. Yeah. And we would still be taking a big risk on doing so. So this kind of format, when we can do it, safely through webcam and through the internet, it's a fantastic way to get at least a little bit of a sense of normalcy when it comes to listening to live music. There's really no other way to do it in Canada just yet.
So we're available for webcam bookings.
That's right.
I don't think the government wants people getting hot and sweaty together and dancing, which will lead to shagging, which will lead to the spread of COVID. Nobody wants that, right?
Nobody wants shagging anyway.
Well, too old for shagging.
Exactly. That's nonsense. Yeah.
But yeah, would you consider doing some live stream shows?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
Yeah.
I think that would be great, because I just think it's something that really does. It connects people. It takes you out of the misery that everyone's gone through for the last few years. It just takes you away from it, and you can just lose yourself for a while, can't you? And forget about it all.
And if people want to hear a reinterpretation maybe of some of their favorite songs, hey, send us a request.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll have to set up a proper live stream at some point here. I think people would love to see that. So coming back to what you just said, actually, I understand there is a new album in the offing, and that it's been quite some time in the making. Is that true?
Not so much an album yet, really, but more a case of what the hell do we do when we can't get together? Lockdown hits, right? Even prior to that, we were doing some recording in Dean's studio, our producer. And then lockdown hit, and it kind of, we couldn't get together every week here, and we couldn't, get together and play. And so we thought, okay, let's record. And it was a way to do something remotely, and a way to, in a Sunday afternoon when it's raining and, it's the 900th consecutive afternoon of sitting there going, you think, okay, build the studio, do it remotely, do some recording and put something together that way. And we actually have enough tracks, I think, for a triple album. I don't know. Yeah, but I think we'd love to do it. I mean, we all have this idea we want to do more original songs as well. So I think probably once we kind of develop more of those as well, that might be something certainly to look at. But I mean, the recording quality is that we're able to do at Dean's and do online is phenomenal, especially compared to the old days, right, where it was all tapes and
I mean we just transfer files to each other. Seb will record his vocals at home and his guitar, Dan will do the bass, right, and just email it, and that's the way we've been doing it when we couldn't get together.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can do it on your phone now. It's incredible. Music's become so democratized, right? Everybody can do it if they feel like it.
It was started by Ashley and the Punks.
So Dean, not everyone could do it. You do need to have talent. So let's
tell that to some of the number ones. Tell that to Nicki Minaj. I mean, he's a big ass.
Sorry, Nicki. We know you're watching.
Of course. So
which must be annoying for the true musicians out there,
It always was. Like when I was younger and had these, the dreams of I'm going to be a musician. Yeah, it didn't last long, did it? And you kind of look at these kids or whatever who are my age, and I think I can do that. How come they get the break and I don't? Right? Luck of the draw, right?
Know.
Right place, right time.
It must be quite sickening. Yeah, absolutely it is. But we're talking there about an album, and we also mentioned somewhere in there Ash, who is my producer on the show, and talking about an album. It's taken him 40 years to get his bloody album out, laziest band in the world. So as a fellow musician, I thought we'd bring him on so you musos can have a little chat.
Hello, Ashley.
Hi guys. How you doing?
democratization of music. It's all your fault and your lot, the punks back in the 70s.
Absolutely. I mean, for those that don't know, very briefly, the story is that my first band, when I knew Dan and I was at school with him when I was 15, The Stereotypes, did one single, one gig, had a row and split up. And about 36 years later, I was tracked down by Detour Records, who told me that single is now the rarest punk single of the era and worth £1,500. And I said, I've got 7. And I sold them to them and went to Vegas and spunked it all. But nevertheless, we decided, they said to me, can you get back together? And I said, well, I'm not sure if they're alive, to be honest, but if I can find them, we will. We got back together and we're recording an album, our debut album, Forward, which came out in March of this year. And it is the longest gap between the debut single and a debut album, which gives us the title of the world's laziest band. However, so it gives you hope for what you're doing. So don't worry, 15 years is like a week musically. So you're absolutely fine. So the kind of things that I wanted to know, how do you recreate the sounds of the 80s with, the kind of equipment that's around now, the real digital equipment? How do you get that 80s sound?
We have Dean.
Well, yeah, Dean has a pretty good understanding as to what the sound should be like, and we trust him completely when it comes to putting that kind of sound through our PA system. And we use I use just a regular distortion just to make it sound a little bit rockier, a little bit more modern, a little bit West Coast kind of thing, where we can still keep the old sound and kind of mix it together. And to me, it works pretty good.
Well, we live here, so there's obviously local influences that Dean and I have been here over half our lives anyway, so there's more of a West Coast feel to what we do. But the sound a lot like the patches, and Dean, I mean, he plays keyboards as well, and in his studio can put the patches together. So I'll let you kind of lead off on how you do that, because I have no idea. So.
Yeah, as a 3-piece band, it's impossible to sound like the 80s without the keyboards and all that kind of stuff. We do. There's some numbers we rock out, as a power trio, if you want to call it that. But people want to kind of hear, something, coming close to what the original was. So one of the greatest things with synths and all that kind of stuff is sampling. So if I want a specific sound off a specific record, I'll sample that keyboard sound or even the drum sound. And I can play it from, you might notice I've got like electronic drums and not real drums. One of the beauties of electronic drums, you can turn them down. Real drums allow it.
Yeah.
And like just by sampling the sounds, I can either get exactly like it or I'll try and tweak it a bit. A lot of the songs we record, I mean, we've done some Police stuff and that, and we try and reimagine them a bit. Don't do it exactly like the original, because what's the point? Just go listen to them do it, right?
Yeah.
And have you got any old analog equipment? I used to use like an old Korg and Moog and ESQ1. Do you have any of the old sort of analog stuff from the time? Or
I do. I mean, I've got my original Simmons kit. From,
brilliant.
See, whatever it was, 83 or something like that.
Yeah.
I still have that. But one of my, I mean, people in the know will cringe at this, but I sold an 808. A TR-808 drum machine. I sold it back in the day for I think $75, and now they're worth 10 grand.
Yeah.
But at the time you thought, oh shit, that's
done with that.
Yeah, that's rubbish. I want the new digital stuff.
Yeah.
But I have managed to keep quite a bit of gear, and as you say, it's come back into style. But again, though, with the computers now, they're sounding exactly like the old stuff. And the old stuff used to break down and go out of tune and all that. And why would you do that when you can just put it on your laptop and use the recreation of it?
Yep. Talk to any prog keyboard player and they'll tell you that.
Yeah. As Kath would say, absolutely. So the other question I was thinking of was, I know playing to British audiences, or when I was a journalist, I went to, thousands of gigs. And very much in the UK, people just sort of stand there and stare at the band if they don't know them. So what's a Canadian audience like?
Depends on the alcohol content of the audience, to be honest.
Yeah, it depends on the kind of bar you go.
It's funny, we have in Canada, it's funny, you can play a pub gig at the same time that a hockey game's on, and you have to time your sets around the periods in hockey. So first period, second, because quite honestly, the audience can be more interested in what's going on in the hockey game. But usually the audiences are really good. They dance, they go, and especially to go see like 80s theme oriented bands or bands where they know what they're going to get. They go to dance, they go to have a good time. And I can see personally when things do open up again and people are back to doing that again, there's going to be a real thirst to do that. They're going to want to go and party. They're going to want to go and dance. They're going to want to go and drink and go see everybody they haven't been able to do that with for a couple of years as well. So, yeah, by and large, the audiences are probably less reserved than the British audiences, but not quite as crazy as the American. We're kind of a hybrid between probably the UK and the American audiences, I would imagine.
Okay. And also, for those that don't know, me and Dan, or Danny as he used to be known then, obviously he's too important to be called Danny anymore, went to school together and got up to lots of mischief. But he said to me the other day, how did we reconnect on Facebook? And I couldn't remember. So over to Dan to tell the story.
Yeah, well, this might tell you more about Ashley than it does about me. Anyway, we kind of had reconnected. It'd been 30-something years, right?
Yeah.
Through
Easy.
Mr. Zuckerberg, we kind of reconnected, and Ash kind of sent me this email that had kind of a very unfortunate page break, and we're kind of saying, well, what have you been up to for the last 30 years? And me, okay, came to Canada, got married, had kids, blah 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 blah. He's like, well, I did this. I was writing for a melody maker for a while, did that, and then I spent a couple of years in a psychedelic trance. And there was a page break, and I thought, oh yeah, that sounds about right. And then there's more to it. A psychedelic. I spent a couple of years in a psychedelic trance act touring Europe. Okay, that makes more sense. But the thing is, it didn't surprise me, Ash.
Well, look, hey, I did spend a couple of years in a psychedelic trance as well as being in a psychedelic trance act. And, what can I say? It's all rock and roll, man. But yeah, it's just crazy that we've been brought together by music, and when we were 15 or 16, we had completely different musical tastes and went off in different directions and never really saw each other again, which was a shame because we had a wonderful time at school causing as much mischief as possible. So to reconnect through music is fabulous. And yeah, at some point, come here or I'll come there and we'll play together. It's got to be done.
We will. Absolutely.
Right, I've got a final question before I'm going to get kicked off by Kath, who's sort of, scratching at my back as we speak, but not in a good way. So this is a question for all of you. If you could jam with one band, who would it be?
Oh, gosh. Jesus. That's a hard one. What would you say?
Oh, it's easy for me. What's yours? Some Chilean thing? What?
Los.
Like that's just it. The range of the music that I've listened to throughout the years, it goes from like a Deep Purple all the way to like Depeche Mode, and like pick anything in between, and I really love them all in a different way. So I couldn't just say, there's the one band that I would love to play with. I love my bandmates and I love to play with them, and I wouldn't trade it for the world.
That's a good answer, dude.
Yeah.
How about you?
So easy for me. The Police.
Yeah, wouldn't that be great? The
Police changed music for me. I mean, they came out of punk and took it to a different level of musicianship.
Yeah. And
Stuart Copeland is my hero. I mean, he's just two notes on his drums, and it's Stuart Copeland,
the master of the hi-hat.
He's just unbelievable,
so intricate.
So yeah, I mean, if I could sit in with the Police, but then I'd want to watch Stuart Copeland play. So
yeah, well, you could do percussion.
Yeah, I'd have to do percussion or something, wouldn't I?
That's all right.
Yeah, But yeah, easy Police.
It's funny. The Police, I kind of call them. They're almost like the first and only punk prog band. You know, I mean, seeing them live, those guys are proggers. That's exactly how they write songs. But they started again, punk, proto-punk, moved through those. You're absolutely right. They kind of unified everything, and they were superb. But for me, it would be. I mean, I would not be able to even come close. And hopefully, Billy, you're watching this, but it would be yes. I could only just about manage like third triangle with those guys, right? You know, but it's but just to be there would be something freakishly, amazingly awesome for sure. You know, so Billy, if you're watching, hey, just let me know, man. I'm open. Billy is the bass player of Yes, and hopefully you'll be seeing this.
Fantastic. All right, it's over to Kath with more questions.
Thanks, man.
Well, maybe I'll have to look him up on Instagram and tag him into this post. You never know, he might respond.
Never know.
Could happen.
Yeah,
could happen. So we've had the deeply interesting, fascinating musicians discussion, and now it's back to me. Now we have a couple of sections on this show that I ask all my guests the same question, and I'm about to ask all of you the questions. The first question is, do you like Jaffa cakes? And also, what is your favourite cheese?
Well, a bit peckish right now, to be honest.
Yeah, that
Ah.
we got the Jaffa cakes.
We got Jaffa cakes on. One thing we found out about Seb, being Chilean and just swearing allegiance to Her Majesty, he's become a lot more British at the same time. Not only a lot more apologetic, and now the dude's a convert. He's I think, if I may answer for you, a Jaffa Cakeaholic, if there was. This is such a word.
Yeah, we've been indoctrinating him.
Yeah. Now this, just so you know, this is a pack that has what? How many left in it?
Yeah.
Jaffa Cake. We've got about 6 left in
we've
here.
been
It was full this morning.
This actually was one of 3 packs.
They're all gone.
That were purchased by Mr. Sebastian here as well. So I think the answer to that is a very safe yes.
We love Jaffa
We're a Jaffa Cake fans.
Yeah, we're slowly
I'm
indoctrinating into the English thing.
Yeah.
But he still thinks a full English is some sort of sexual thing.
Which it is, but it's somewhat unsatisfying.
Seb, I'm very proud of you. Very, very proud of you.
As for cheese, I guess because this is a UK-based show, I'm going to go with Blue Stilton, or it would be Danish Blue for me. I like it sharp, baby.
Okay. And
I like an aged Canadian cheddar with a nice bottle of Chilean wine.
Speaking of sexual,
yes.
And I like cheese whiz.
Well, just spray. It saves
spray on cheese.
It actually is. It actually saves most of the work that your digestive system has to do because it's already done by the time.
If you say it in a French accent, it sounds right. Whiz.
Would you like some shiz whiz? Yep.
Sounds almost fancy.
Yeah, where's the shiz? Where's the format? What do they call
you
it?
need your cheese enough to just squirt it straight in.
Squirty cheese. What's it called? We used to have Dairy Lee when I was there, like those little things. What do you call squirty cheese?
Cheese
Well,
whiz.
I live on. No, we actually don't have squirty cheese here. I'm quite jealous. And whenever we get to Vegas, I like to get some, but we still have Dairy Lee, and I've always got that in the fridge, always, along with my Jaffa cakes.
Can't call yourself English if you don't. And Marmite.
No. And Marmite. I've got to have Marmite. Well, I've just actually, one of the chaps that's in the chat, Andy, I've just sent him some Jaffa cakes, of course, and I sent him a packet of Twiglets, and he has gone absolutely insane for Twiglets. Remember Twiglets?
Twiglets. Give me yes, Twiglets are part of my childhood.
Seb needs to
I remember
try
my
those
sister
for sure.
who was
They
watching
go
this.
well with cheese.
Eating Twiglets like this.
Oh yeah, yes, that's such a.
And all they are is like sticks with Marmite on them, right?
I know, but they're just so good and they're so Moorish.
There you
Right,
go, man.
we've covered that question. Now,
Isn't this rock and roll, huh?
It's very rock and roll. On to the next question. do you believe in ghosts, and do you have any spooky tales for us?
Wow.
Well,
Yeah.
that's a controversial question. I mean, we've
Seb and I have actually seen a ghost.
seen a ghost.
Yeah. And we actually paid to do so.
We paid to do so.
Yeah. So, yeah. Do you want to tell them, or shall I?
You go ahead. Take the wheel.
So we're kind of back to the Yes thing, right? So I happen to be unfortunate to be a contact of Billy Sherwood, who is the bass player of Yes, an all-round great guy. So great, in fact, that whenever the band comes to town, we usually go backstage and hang out with them and get to meet them after the show. When you do that, there's a certain protocol that you have to follow. Beforehand is all the people who paid like $600 to meet the band, and they get to kind of stand behind the band. The band sits at a table, some photographer takes their picture, and they get shuffled on, right? So they kind of come out, and then they see us all sitting there, and they get all resentful because we can go in and hang out and take selfies and that kind of thing. But the manager, road manager, whoever he is, comes along and talks to you beforehand and says, okay, you can do this. When seeing the band, they'll sign anything except for Mr. Howe. Mr. Howe won't sign this. Please don't shake Mr. Howe's hand. And I'm thinking, well, they're going to tell us not to step on his shadow next. And then Seb and I kind of realized that he actually probably died about 15 years ago.
He just doesn't know.
He just doesn't know.
He hasn't been told.
He hasn't been told he died. And poor old Steve, he looks a little cadaverous, but I mean, he's still Steve, Mr. Steve Howe, and a hero. But absolutely. I personally believe the reason you can't touch him or step on his shadow or look him in the eyes, he's not actually there. He's a projection. So yes, basically, we think we may have seen a ghost.
We might have.
Yes.
I love it. Superb. So we found out about Jaffa Cakes. We found out about ghosts. What I want to know is, obviously you've said you can't really do anything with touring at the moment, but you've been working on this album. Are there plans to release it? And also we've had another question in from Sylvia, who wants to know, do you have any merch?
Do we have any
merchandise?
We've got half a box of Jaffa Cakes.
We do.
That we're willing to sell on eBay.
And a couple of
you can
band
sign them.
I'd like to get some T-shirts and that. So yes, Sylvia, when we get them, we'll let you know.
Fabulous. And the album, are we expecting it to be released? And is it covers?
Yeah,
we're
we're working on things now. We're putting the finishing touches on some of our originals, and as I said earlier about like some of the reimagined 80s songs that we've done. So we'll put a package together and get it on Bandcamp or try and get it on Spotify and stuff like that.
Yep. We're also on the starting touches of some original songs as well as some finishing touches on others as well. So
yeah.
It's actually an exciting time. It's now we can get together again. We can do this and it kind of gets the the creative juices going again and kind of prods us into action. Now you can do it in person. It's a different dynamic as well, which is more fun. So.
That's right. And also all the time that we've been together playing covers and playing originals, we just kind of have a sense of what each of us brings to the table and what kind of style they're into. So when it comes to the creative process, we're able to kind of mix it and come up with something that we love to do, that sounds good, and that it's different from what you would hear normally on the radio.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. That's the that's the goal.
And when you said before about the possibility of live streaming, quite a few people in the chat were saying they're really interested in that and they loved your idea of making it a request thing. And somebody's actually said, would you consider doing a Halloween one with spooky songs and taking requests? You could have a bit of Monster Mash, if anyone remembers the Monster Mash.
That was the first single I ever had. Sue, Perry, you'll remember this. Dancing around the living room to Monster Mash. It was a graveyard smash. I personally, I'd love to do. I think we'd love to make it a regular thing for sure. We have the technology to do it, and obviously it'll get better and better as we go. As we can kind of enhance it, but I think it's a lot of fun to do. I mean, yeah.
I think so, and I think because it's still an issue for a lot of places of getting out to live shows. It'd just be a great way for people to hear live music. It's just, I can't tell you, sitting here on a Saturday night hearing songs live is just the best feeling in the world. It really, really is. So if you were to put something together and get these out, I don't know, maybe once a month, do a few songs, ask for requests.
Love to. Thanks for letting us be a part of it. We'd love to do it. Absolutely. We'd love to do something. Let's have it. Yeah, we'll get back to you. But yeah, we'd love to have our people contact your people to do lunch. And
I think so. I think so. So before we start wrapping up, because we've got a special treat for everyone at the end of the show, because you very kindly sent us a little mix of some of your stuff that you've done in the studio. So we're not gonna do our outro. We're gonna play out with Radio Obscura, because some of the tracks on there just blew my mind. Listen out for the Depeche Mode, because that killed me. It was absolutely incredible. Well done, Seb. Absolutely killed me.
The man.
He is the man. So before we go, any more words of wisdom, anything else you'd like to share with your public?
You can reach out to us at Obscura Radio on Facebook. Look for Radio Obscura on Facebook as well. Contact info is on there. Absolutely reach out to us if you'd like us to do more live streaming for you as well. We're very, very happy to do it. Kath, we'd love to do the show again with you anytime. You just let us know. And Ash, you and I got to catch up, man. That would be awesome.
Absolutely. Maybe next weekend, let's catch up on Messenger and have some fun. Remember some old times and all the trouble we got into.
Deal. Absolutely. Would you like us to play one more song on the way out, or are you going to do your outro here?
Oh, there's a thought. Up to you guys. Would you like to play one more song?
Sure, why not?
We might as well.
We're already here.
All right.
Okay. I've got the studio.
Yeah, if you go over and set up, I'm just going to say goodbye to everyone and tell them about the next show we've got coming up. So by the time I've done that.
That's great. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, so
wow.
Thank you to everyone. What an amazing band, and isn't it fantastic to hear live music, especially on a Saturday night as well. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, so just thank you to everyone that's joined us, and we hope that your passion for music is reignited as always, and hope you've loved hearing Radio Obscura as much as we have. As I say, we're going to do one live track, and then we've got a 3-minute segment of some recorded stuff that you're going to hear, which is incredible. Across the bottom of the screen right now are some sister shows to this one. We have our friends over at Pink Sock. We have Ryan Roxy, who has his show, which is now on Fridays. Pink Sock is returning soon. And we have our friends at the Voice It Show, all of which are really great shows that I recommend you go and watch. We, however, will be back next month, and I'm happy to announce that our guest is none other than Suzi Quatro. So we will be returning on Saturday, October the 23rd at midday UK time with Suzi Quatro, and we will be playing tracks from her latest album. If the boys are now ready, we will head over and we will have one last song, and then we will play out with their mixtape. If you're ready, take it away, boys.
We are, and this is dedicated to Suzi Quatro.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This is Radio Obscura.
I don't care if Monday's blue, Tuesday's gray, and Wednesday too. Thursday, I don't care about you, it's Friday. One life to live, but we're doing it wrong. You see, got my brother down, cause it's nothing to me. It's nothing to me. Everyone the same, then it's wrong to cheat. There's no other way to give life an easy street. Give life an easy street. Someone else telling you what you're living for, been knocking you down, and you're looking for a plan. Oh, you're making Japan today, making Japan every day, making Japan. Oh, the Eastern Sea is so blue, making Japan.